animals, trees, and fungus, oh my, the power of music to motivate, and how Brotha James went from top performing salesperson to motivational musician. All right, all right, all right. Hey ho, let's go. Hello, my legendary friends. This is Christopher Lochhead, your host here on Legends and Losers. And man, am I ever glad that you have joined us today. Uh, this episode is, if you will, pure Legends and Losers. Why? Our guest today, Brotha James, redesigned his life around his passion, and he hacked the future that he wanted to become a category king. Now, if that sounds like a little bit of jargon and you're not a regular listener, just know that our guest today, Brotha James, really put it all on the line to follow his dreams and create a whole new life for himself. And that's what we're going to share with you. And if you're a longtime listener to Legends and Losers, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We are stoked that you're here. And if you're new, we aspire to have authentic dialogues about what it really takes to design a legendary life and a legendary business. And we're long form shows. You could probably tell. I'm sure you looked at the length of our episodes. And the reason for that is we have these free range, unbounded conversations or dialogues. We don't edit the show or not very much or very often because what we want is for you to have an eavesdropping experience. And the other thing that we want to kind of get underneath is when most of us hear a dialogue with a quote unquote legendary person, it could be very easy to sort of sit back and go, well, you know, they have some talent or some ability that I don't have, and disassociate what they did in their life from my life. And we really try to get underneath that, because it turns out the legendary people in the world are people just like you and me. And so we kind of want to break the veil of that. That's why the show's called Legends and Losers, this concept of there's no such thing as a legend who isn't a loser. So let's get underneath what it really takes and have, if you will, an authentic dialogue. All right, that's what Legends and Losers is about. Now, before we get to Brotha James, I want to let you know that we have a new mini book coming out later this year. Think about it as maybe like a white paper on steroids. And the mini book is on personal category design, and in particular, why personal branding is BS in the absence of personal category design. Now, if you want an advanced copy in draft form, that is to say, we're still making some final changes. So if you want a pre-release draft form copy of our new mini book on personal category design, here's what there is to do. And you'll get it obviously before it comes out. And if for some reason you have some feedback on it for us, you'll have an opportunity to give us that feedback before we actually go to print on the new book. So if you want the pre-release draft copy of our new mini book on personal category design, here's what we ask you to do. Write a review of Legends and Losers on iTunes or Stitcher or Podbean or YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Take a screenshot of that review and email it to blackhole@legendsandlosers.com. And we will send you a PDF version of the new personal category design mini book. And then when it comes out, you'll get the completed one for free, or as we say en français, gratis. All right. Let's get to our guest today, Brotha James, aka Jeremy Reesig. And Brotha James was a top performing sales rep at Cutco, and he was sort of a young man casting about in life. And within 2 years of joining Cutco, he became #1 in the country. So he had an extraordinary sales career. However, in 2009, he decided to risk it all and leave his career in sales to pursue his passion for motivation and music and combining the two together. The other thing, so today he makes his living performing, writing, recording, and he also writes custom songs for people. And he does this for corporate events, so big, companies, sales and leadership conferences and events, mastermind groups, community, church, and school groups. And he's also the first person, Brotha James is the first person to play and sing on Legends and Losers. So you get to experience some of his amazing music. And you'll see we start off our dialogue today with me introducing Brotha James to one of my hens, my chickens, my daughters. So we start off by talking about Abigail, and she spends most of the conversation with us. So with that, here he is, the legendary Brotha James.
Yeah, dude. Get the dinosaur. How is the dinosaur? Just get the dinosaur.
I'll just get one dinosaur, yeah. So this is Abigail, and Abigail will be 2 soon in March. Yeah. Oh, is that you saying hello, Abby? Good girl.
Hi, Abby.
Yeah. That's Brotha James.
Can you say Brotha James? Can you say Brotha James, Abby?
You say Brotha James, Abby? I wonder if she's going to peck the microphone. That's how they check shit out. They peck it.
Yeah, they got the beak and everything.
Yeah, like she'll probably peck my earbud. I could almost guarantee it.
Dude.
And the funniest thing, so they're funny in lots of ways. You talk about how great animals are. So Abigail and one of our other girls, Penelope, a.k.a. Poo-Poo, they like to spar. They like to fight. But Poo-Poo won't fight with me. She only fights with my wife, Carrie. But Abigail, literally every morning, we let them out sort of just after the sun's been out for a little while, make sure there are no predators around. And so let them out. We got 6. They come running out. And as they all run out, Abigail holds back. And she looks at me. And I crouch down. And then she drops one shoulder like she's Floyd Mayweather. And she pretends to be pecking or scratching or she's easing up on me. And then boom, she attacks. And normally she jumps with both feet, hits my hand, and pecks me all at the same time. And then it's on. We're fighting. And we spar. If we don't spar 3 times a day, she's unhappy.
Wow. So it's like that's her way of playing with you.
Yeah. And then Poo-Poo will do it with Carrie, but Poo-Poo, for whatever reason, won't do it with me. It's funny.
Now, will Abby do it with Carrie?
Yeah. She prefers to fight with me, though. She doesn't fight with Carrie that much, but she will fight with her.
Dude, that's amazing that you have that type of relationship with the chicken, the dinosaur. Wait, is it a rooster?
No, it's a hen, right? Because roosters in a residential neighborhood would make everybody fucking crazy, right? And yeah, and so hens, yeah, and then here, this is the other thing she likes to do. She likes to just hang out like this. So she's perfectly happy to hang out here for easily an hour, and I can unload the dishwasher while holding her. She doesn't give a shit what we're doing.
She just likes to be loved.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds corny and shit, but and the thing that blows me away about it is she's 5 pounds, man. I'm 6 feet and 190 pounds.
Yeah.
Right? Like what needs to be true for her in her head that she can pick a fight with me and it's going to be fun for her. Like what needs to be her reality, her, in the parlance of our times, mindset. That she thinks that attacking this creature that is 185 pounds bigger than her. And I mean, I don't even know she's a foot tall. Right?
I mean, is it trust? Is it just the simplistic answer is trust, right? Like she trusts you as a friend, a caregiver, a dad, like whatever category I don't know that about her, but right? Like she's got to have some sort of sense of trust. Was it always like that? Or can you go back and like look at the evolution and go, oh wow, her process was kind of like this?
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, we can see the process. My favorite, by the way, answer for what it is I have a friend who's a shaman, and he spent a big part of his life in Belgium, so he speaks French. And when he sees this kind of interaction, he says, Ça c'est l'amour.
C'est l'amour. What does
Ça
that
c'est
mean?
l'amour. That's love. L'amour.
Yeah.
Ça c'est l'amour. That's love.
Yep.
And so with her and her sister Poo Poo, we got them from the time they were 2 days old. And so they grow up in a world where they don't know, you not being there. And so she would have no reason to have concern because literally her experience of her entire existence is one where Carrie and I take care of her.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no other experience. It wouldn't even occur to her that anything else would be possible. Not only that, that we care for her and protect her and feed her, the whole thing, just like a caregiver or parent would,
Yeah. It's like almost a similar relationship to a dog or a cat.
Yeah, it's exactly the same thing. And their level of intelligence is the same. Higher in certain areas, lesser in other areas. But overall, absolutely. I mean, they know their names. They come when they're called. They have a wide range of emotions. They have different personalities. They have different voices. I know who I'm talking to when one of them's behind me.
Mm. Totally.
Yeah.
I don't know that about the cats. That's interesting. I don't know if they have different tones. I should pay more attention to that.
Yeah, with the dinos, it's easy. Their voices are pretty. I mean, if you hang out around them for any amount of time, their voices are pretty distinguishable. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. This topic of animals and humans
Yeah.
is
Right.
like I don't know what direction we want to go in with that because I've got a whole lot to say. But it's an interesting one in the way that you just described. Like we're not that different.
Well, and who the fuck knows what's in their mind, right? But you got to believe at some level they understand we're not the same thing, right? We don't fucking sleep outside. We don't make eggs. We don't, they understand that there's a difference.
Yes.
However, what chicken experts say is this kind of a relationship is the chicken is a flock animal, much like the dog is a pack animal. And so you're just part of their flock. And you're the leaders of the flock. Like they know, it's going to sound absolutely insane, but they know I'm the rooster, right? They know that. And they respond to Carrie, as the mama hen. There's no question. That's the relationship. I'll give you a simple example. They like to go different places. And sometimes we let them out front of our house where they're not protected. So, and my concern is that a dog off a leash is going to come running, and that'll be that. I mean, they wouldn't survive that. And so I normally have like a big, rake or, I have something there to make sure that doesn't happen. And if for whatever reason I'm concerned for their safety and I tell them to go back, they do exactly what I tell them to, exactly when I tell them. In that, when I say that dad voice, that they fucking go. They understand.
Yep. Totally. It's like when you're like, no. And the dog like jerks and all of a sudden it knows that it's like that. It's like that in type of intelligence or recognition of
absolutely
vocal commands.
It's exactly the same thing. Yeah.
It's really amazing. I think it goes beyond, right? Like the traditional dog and cats. There's chickens, there's rabbits, there's pigs. There's like, you can go on and on with when there's a relationship in unique ways that I think takes us back to before we were so separate. And if we look closely enough, we can be taken back to a time when we all coexisted in a much more meaningful and connected way. Humans and animals.
Well, yeah, of course, we used to live with them, right? Lots of them.
Yeah.
Like some meaningful majority of us. And so having animals around is natural. And look, they're very powerful and complex beings. I know it sounds ridiculous. People say, it's fucking chicken. Well, hang out with a fucking chicken, right? And I know people who have deep relationships with ferrets and rabbits. And my favorite, did you hear this one? There was an article on the news, maybe it was a couple of years ago now. You know how you can get your shrink to declare your animal like a therapy dog or whatever, and that way you can
Oh
take
yeah.
it on the plane?
Yeah.
Well, some woman had a therapy turkey.
That's okay.
Yeah, if you
That's
Google
great.
that shit, there's some funny stories out there. So there's video and shit, cell phone video and shit of this woman and her therapy turkey. And look, you talk to any sailor, and they'll a lot of them will have a story about a dolphin or a whale, or I mean, you hear these things all the time. And so, yeah, it's corny, but there's a huge connection between animals and people if the circumstances are right.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's it's magic right in front of our eyes.
Yeah, I mean, I know it sounds absolutely insane to most people, but I'm in love with these little girls, right? And
Oh,
she's napping in my arm right now as we're talking. I mean, she's
dude,
yeah,
I'm one of my best friends is my dog. Like,
right. I
oh
mean,
my
there's a lot
gosh.
of times when people lose a pet, they're much more broken about it than when they lose somebody who's, to use the word of our day, supposedly close to them, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I can already feel it. Like I often think about death, and I think about
Why
my
do you
own
often
death.
think about death?
I often think about death because of the way that it brings me back to the present moment to really appreciate. It's just a reality. We're all going to die. Our animals are going to die. There's no reason in trying to convince ourselves that we're immortal. And so I think about it in a way that allows me to spend a lot more energy and focus on the present moments and appreciating them more than anything else.
Hmm. It's interesting. You think about human beings and animals, and of course, one of the giant differences is, best of our knowledge, we're the only animal on planet Earth that knows we have a limited amount of time.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
When an animal's dying, it thinks it's just feeling shitty, and it goes somewhere to lay down and feel better, and then it's gone. Right? It doesn't know that's what's up.
Yep.
And
Totally.
so it does put. It is an incredible thing that the fact that it's limited provides such powerful context.
Absolutely, dude. Couldn't agree more. Yeah.
So go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's so easy to walk, it's so easy to walk by animals, and whether it's, especially the animals we own, we're busy people, and it can be really easy to walk by an animal and the animal be kind of telling you what it wants. Like for the dog, it's very clear that the dog, whenever I'm around, it wants to go for a run. Like it just wants to go for a run. It wants to go outside.
It's well, and what I find cool is that it wants to do that and wants to do that with you. But even if you take a step before that, that animal communicates in a different way than you and I communicate, and it knows that you know exactly what it's saying.
Yep, for
Right?
sure. Yes, it knows. It knows exactly. And then each step, it anticipates a little more. Like if I walk and open a closet that has the leash in it, even if I'm not going for the leash, the anticipation then increases because of the Pavlov's dog, the Pavlov's bell. It knows the sound of the closet, the look of the closet, and everything that is conditioned to then anticipate that the walk is getting closer to reality. And then there's 3 more steps along the way. It's interesting to pay attention and then each step, for me, it lures me closer to wanting to fulfill the animal's desire. So I almost stay away from the steps, knowing that I don't want to give the animal false hope.
Yeah, it's incredible the amount of intelligence and ability to communicate. And then the other one that blows my mind, have you heard about this research? They're starting, I think, generally to call them intelligent trees.
Oh, dude, I just bought 5 books that are the hidden life of trees.
Okay, so there you go. I figured this would be the kind of shit you'd be into, but there's documentaries and shit, and there's research, and that the root systems are incredibly I don't know what word to use, communicative. That is to say,
Yeah.
the trees that are of the same trees all know that. They know who the mother is. They know who the siblings are. The roots grow from closer to the mother's roots grow closer to the siblings than to the root systems of other different trees. Roots get together and fuck up, invading trees and shit, right? That you've read all this stuff, right?
Yeah, and I'm about to read more. I've read some stuff about it more online, and then I had a friend who had read the book. It's either The Hidden Life of Trees or The Secret Life of Trees, and it's been in my mind, and so I just bought a whole bunch so I can give them away as Christmas gifts and read them with people I love.
Yeah, and apparently that same, I don't know what to call it, network intelligent capability of trees is now believed to be true for fungus too, right?
I believe so. I believe it's even connected to the fungus that is at the base of the trees. And in
Yeah,
the way
and
that their inner, my girlfriend calls it, I think that she calls it I can't remember the name of how she says it, but there's a certain name for how the moss and the tree and the soil and all the things are working together at that kind of base of the tree. And just to kind of bring the importance of trees into the conversation, which is fascinating, is that the one similarity between like myself and Pebbles and Abigail and so many other animals is that we all share the main key energy source that trees are vital in creating, which is air.
yeah.
So we all actually share the same, it's the quickest thing that would kill everything is lack of air.
My Corazal network. I'm probably not saying that right. It's, you got to excuse my dyslexia. Also known as common mycorrhizal networks, or CMN, like Charlie, Mary, Nancy, are an underground network created by mycorrhizal fungi that connect individual plants together and transfer water, carbon, nitrogen, and other nutrients. The formation of these networks is context dependent and can be influenced by such factors, blah, 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 blah. But there's a belief now that there's intelligence in these networks and that they communicate, and that mushrooms and shit are intelligent. It's shit's starting to get wild.
Dude, I think that we are going to be given more and more information about our connection to nature each and every day and each and every year as we move forward. And I believe there's three stakeholders. There's humans, there's animals, and then there's the planet. And I think that we're so connected that without connecting to them, because they're not disconnected in any way, because they don't have the wherewithal to make any sorts of decisions about those things. We're the only species that is able to kind of get beyond the boundaries of just being able to feel the interconnectedness between us and nature. And I think because we're informational and knowledge based, as that comes out and becomes, 50 years from now, ideally, it's part of the school curriculum. It's part of all the pieces that allow an early human to progress in a way that allows them to, at each stage in life, not have to think about or look for or have some mystery about where maybe fulfillment is, but fulfillment will become more obviously right in front of our faces because of the nature in what we are, which is another species living on a thing that is totally reliant on that thing to operate at a optimal level. I think that there's a lot of...
Elon's trying to take us to whatever that planet, that planet they discovered. They recently discovered a planet that we might be able to inhabit.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying to me.
It's going to take a long... I think it was 11 billion light years away.
Man.
Hold on. Let me see if I can find it while we're talking.
It's like an interesting thing to think about. Like whenever I hear the idea of a new planet, I get excited about the exploration and creativity and innovation and entrepreneurial kind of pieces at play there, especially with an intriguing character like Elon Musk. And then instantly right after that excitement comes the question of how might we advance ourselves and grow
it's
ourselves in
not
a way.
11. Hold on. Could you hear that shit? Did you hear my computer make that noise? No?
No.
Oh, good. Okay, so here it is. CNN, maybe fake news, but still. November 15th, 2017. Headline, newly discovered nearby planet could support life. And it's 11 light years away, not 11 billion light years away. Way better. Way closer.
Yeah, way closer.
Way different. And it could support life. Announcements about exoplanets. Those found out, blah, 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 commonplace. So why is this is its name? You ready for this? It's called Ross 128b. And anyway, it goes on and
That's
on
the name
to
of the
talk
planet?
about. That's the name of the planet. I think it needs a better. As a marketer, I think it needs a better name because Ross 128b's and like Ross.
Let's just call it District 11.
And then you saw this, right? That our government's been caught with UFO videos, right? You saw that.
I mean, we've known that since like how long ago, right?
No, but like now there's like, in the parlance of our times, legit shit, right?
That's so great.
There's legit shit about UFOs, right? Have you seen this here? The independent.co.uk, U.S. government recovered materials from unidentified flying objects it does not recognize. And there's this video of these. Yeah. What does he say? He said, I don't know what that is, bro, or something like that. It is expletive going on, bro. It is shit going on, bro. That's what he's saying.
I love that he said brother.
He says there's a whole fleet of them. Look on the SA. I don't know what SA means. My gosh.
Dude,
they're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 miles an hour. Look at that thing, dude. So we now have video and audio of the U.S. military having a UFO interaction.
So they're having the interaction. I mean, it's...
Maybe they're from Ross. Are they from Ross? Maybe they're from Ross 127F instead of 128B. It sounds like a Vegas hotel room or something.
What it just reminded me of is I was just watching the Mockingjay movie.
The Mockingjay. I don't know that movie. Do you have any UFO? The Hunger Games. Okay. And
just I'm into it. Just I've only watched it one time, but I watched it again recently and was into and I only thought of that because of the way that they have it all set up with District 1 through District 13.
Oh yeah.
And how they have it set up, and then District 11, that movie, and how it's really interesting to think about, where we're headed as a species, man. The more knowledge.
We found another planet, and it appears we found legit UFOs. You don't have any UFO or other planet songs or music, do you?
UFO or other planet
could you like make up a song on the fly? Like, don't you do that all the time, don't you?
I could, but I do that all the time, but I do have this one that just goes, I'll just play a little snippet of it. It goes, I'm going back to the earth. I'm going back to the earth. I'm going back to work. I'm going back to the earth. I'm going back to the earth. I'm going back to the earth. I'm going back to work. I'm going back to the earth. Oh, I had a pick in my guitar the whole time.
Yeah,
that's Jason Mraz song.
Oh, that's Jason Mraz song. You have kind of a Jason Mrazzy vibe. You've probably been told that before, right?
A little bit, yeah. I've got the ability to kind of rap a little bit and do a little bit of singing as well.
Yeah, and the other thing that you do that I love, and do you have any of your electronic shit nearby?
No, I don't.
No.
the live looping.
I love that shit because, you know, I'm a little bit of a musician, but like I can play, you know, I'm one of those guys who the Ramones are my heroes, right? GAD, form a band, go, right? Like once you can play bar chords, you're good. Um,
Yeah.
but anyway, you know, so I'm not much of a musician, but the fact that you can lay down when you do one of those openings that you do and you're using your looper,
Yeah.
how many tracks are you laying down by the time you're finished the song? How many layers are we listening to?
It depends on the song, but there could be anywhere from 5 to 15.
Yeah,
So it
because
might be
you
like,
put down drums, you put down keys, everything, right?
yep.
You
And so it might be
literally
like,
are a one man band. I mean, you have to be a technology genius to know how to use all that shit, right?
well, you have to have a burning desire to get to know how to use it. You don't have to be any sort of technology genius. You just have to be motivated enough to spend the time to get to know it and how it all works together. Because was only been like a 3-year thing that I've been into.
Oh wow! So this is new, all this looping technology
Dude,
stuff.
Brotha James is new. Brotha James is like this is the 3rd year in business for Brotha James right now.
Oh, I didn't.
So
I see. I thought Brother James has just been around for a long time.
and the name has been around, but in regards to like me being an inspirational musician, it has been around for uh, like officially since I launched it in 2015 as a business, as like a corporation with trademarks and all that stuff. And I started touring in 2015, playing
Oh wow!
live for
I
the
didn't
first
know.
time as
I
a
didn't know.
solo.
I thought you'd been doing
Yeah.
it longer. So I could ask you to define inspirational musician, which I think I want to do. But could you give me like a sample? Could you give me a
Oh
little
yeah.
Brother James? Show
Yep.
me, play for
Yep.
me.
Play for you. Play for you. Let's do. Well, do you have any requests?
What's that you open? What's that song you open with a lot of the time that gets everybody moving at the beginning of an event or a conference?
Is it Animal?
Yes, yes.
I feel it burning in my soul. I know it's time for me to go. And in this journey, I wanna take it slow. Possess my prey before I start to hold my blade. This ain't no phase, no longer grazing in this field that I once laid. I wanna taste, let go of haste, blood in the water, oh, I will not hesitate because I'm an animal, I want my belly full, I will not go to my grave with this inside of me. Well, I'm an animal, and I can feel the pull, it's time to open my cage and see who I can be. Escape, well now create my own state. I'm the one with the power to dictate my own fate. Persist to exist. I'll make a list of the egos in a life we must dismiss. Battle in the mind to know to where to bind. And we're the masterminds in this day-to-day grind. Come on, well I'm an animal, I want my belly full, I will not go to my grave with this inside of me. Well, I'm an animal, and I can feel the pull. It's time to open my cage and see who I can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. I appreciate the round of applause. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
what is
Brother
inspirational music?
James. I love that song. And I love it, you know, I love it acoustic like that. And
Yeah,
I
it's
love
fun.
it when you build all those layers when you do big live events and shit.
Dude, are you going to be in Steamboat?
My current plan is to be in Steamboat, yes.
So what I've been doing recently, like this whole summer, I'm a big, you know, I'm looking for my pond, right? Like I'm constantly looking, like Play Bigger is right there. One of the things in Play Bigger is identifying your category, your niche through benchmarking and trending, and just finding out, you know, where might you be 1 or 2 in the pond. And as a looper, what I noticed is that although I have opportunities to play in that pond, where the real pond might be for me, I've been test marketing this, is as a 2-man band. So now I have all the tracks pre-recorded. I don't do that much looping, but I have a live drummer. And so I'll like play guitar and have other tracks going and have the live drummer. And then it gives me a lot of flexibility to move around more and interact with the crowd more, which is more of my talents and my strengths.
Even though you could just have a track being the drummer?
Yes, the live. So there's a lot of power around people being able to see the drums. There's like, when you look at 2-man bands in regards to that category, so 2-man band category, like Black Keys, Chromeo, 21 Pilots, Iodo, Big Gigantic. That's just to name a few. And when you see what they do.
Well, and you didn't say the one I thought for sure you were going to say.
Who's the one? Who's a 2-man band? Or
the White Stripes.
Band? The White Stripes. Right, the White Stripes.
I mean, in rock and roll, didn't they get that party started, at least in the modern era?
Yeah, it was them and the Black Keys. They were kind of like side by side in their 2-man band. Now the White Stripes, they were brother and sister, right?
Well, they were always sort of a little bit cheeky about that. Were they brother and sister or husband and wife? But so I don't know. I think they were brother and sister, but I don't know. What the fuck did I know? I wasn't there. But
so I'm excited.
Their first couple records. Killed. Oh, Seven Nation Army won the Grammy, and come on, when you hear that song, boom, 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 boom. I mean, it's just incredible, right?
Boom, 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 boom.
It's incredible.
It's amazing, dude.
Right?
So
I mean,
like
that's
now,
right there with "Sweet Child of Mine," or
absolutely,
yeah.
You hear that bass line come on, and you have an instant kind of like, oh. But so I'm in a 2-man band, more in a 2-man band category. The live drummer is my brother. And kind of the key to the drums is that we have it so that you can see everything he's doing. So when you're looking for kind of what you would call the acoustic part is the actual instrument being played. And so I have lots of tracks, the bass, the keys, all the things I would normally loop are pre-programmed, a little cleaned up, ready to go. And then we've got the live drummer. And my strength is entertaining, although I'm a pretty good looper, and I appreciate your compliments compared to the other loopers in that category. It's a harder journey to be an inspirational musician and get traction in the 1-man. Although I still am a 1-man brand, for the live shows, I'm a 2-man in regards to how I'll captivate an audience and take them through an experience. The dance party, the movement, the clapping, everything goes up several notches. And so being
I
an
don't care what you
music,
say. I don't give a shit how good technology gets. There is no fucking way fake drums sound like real drums.
Dude, there's no way.
I mean, you can have pre-rigged keys and shit and get away with some of that shit for sure, right? But drums?
Not drums.
Not drums?
Not drums. No, not drums. The drums are really like, especially in the type of music I play, which you might call a pop, hip-hop type of music. They are the feel. They're the feel. And so there's a certain feel that comes along with having a live drummer, especially my brother. We've been playing music together since we were 12 and 14. And so we have a certain way of communicating that is very organic and aligned.
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of bands with siblings in them. I mean, a tremendous amount of bands with siblings in them. Right.
The producer of this new album is right now on tour in the United Kingdom. The guy who's producing this new album that I'll be putting out, Abracadabra, we had to push the release date back 2 months because he's touring with three brothers, Hanson, in the United Kingdom.
Right. Like them or hate them, but, whether it's Hanson or the Bee Gees or I was going to make a joke and say the Ramones. They weren't actual brothers.
Dude, and he said those guys, he said they're monsters. He just says, I'm like, buddy, tell me what it's like to work with Hanson. He's like, they're monsters. They're killing. They all sing. They all have their own.
How old are they now, man?
Dude, well, they put out Umba in 1990.
How can you be a boy band?
Dude, they could have. Dude, they're all great-looking guys, man.
Did their fans just grow up with them? Is that what happened? I guess that's what happened, right?
Yeah, and they were kind of in that place where there was MTV, and MTV was kind of like the beacon for the different types of bands that were out there doing something. And you think just because they're not on the radio or on MTV anymore that they don't exist. But when you go to like Third Eye Blind's tour calendar, or 311's tour calendar, or Hanson's
Yeah.
tour calendar, you're like, holy shoot, like holy shit, these guys freaking literally still tour like 100 days a year.
Yeah, they look pretty good. They look pretty good. I'm trying to figure out how old they are. They're from Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's cool. Zach.
I think the oldest one is that's the oldest one. I think he's in his late
Taylor
30s.
Hanson. Okay, Taylor Hanson is 34.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have the other ones, but all right, yeah, play something else, man.
All right, this one's going to be on the new album this one's called Abracadabra, and you are going to get some freestyle on this one because I don't have the song completed. This will be the last song that gets recorded.
Yeah,
so
we like to freestyle it around here.
So I've got a chorus for this song that's already done. I got one verse and a bridge, so one of these verses will be freestyled. The second verse will be freestyled.
All right.
I'm feeling good inside. I really love my life. I'm putting out good vibes every single day. I'm like a shining ray. I feel unafraid. This is just the way that I wanna play. Whenever I feel low, I grab a journal and my blue pen, and I think about what it is that I'm grateful for, and how it is that I wanna spend. With these words I create, abracadabra, laugh, are you ready to play? La 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 la, let's make today a great day with the words that we say. Abracadabra, abracadabra. I'm on a cool podcast with a great host. Alright, he's got a dinosaur. I don't mean to boast, it's a cool animal. It's got personality, and this podcast is making me want to get closer to the things that are natural. Things like chickens and other animals. They are so beautiful, whether you're a dog or a cat or a chicken or a dinosaur. With these words I create, abracadabra, laugh, are you ready to play with a dinosaur today? Alright, these words I say, let's make today a great day. Oh no, skip it out. Abracadabra, no, 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 with all these words I create. No, yeah. Well, we all got feelings. Some of us all are dealing with demons. We're trying to find a way, navigating the world. Doesn't matter your age, if you're a boy or a girl. We're trying to figure it out, trying to figure it out. What is this life all about? Get up and be strong. Use the words to be powerful. It's up to you and it is up to me. Well, with these words I create, abracadabra, laugh, are you ready to play? La 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 la, let's make today a great day with the words that we say. Abracadabra.
Yeah. That woke Abigail up.
I did a lot of freeze. Actually, the whole bridge was freestyle too.
I love it. I love it. So we'll hear where you land on those lyrics when the record comes out.
Yes, that'll be this song. I want this song in particular to be a song that inspires. I want it to be like the song where people are singing it for themselves, but also when they're in their car together. Like I envision a mom or a dad, or a mom and a dad and kids, and this being one where it's like they're singing together, just going, with these words I create abracadabra. Even if they just sing the abracadabra part, just the
Right.
meaning of abracadabra, I feel like they'll get more cognitive, more aware that,
Isn't the meaning of abracadabra, isn't that what you say when you're like making a magic trick happen?
it's like there's
Like
several meanings, and
abracadabra, boom.
abracadabra, it's like one of the definitions I found, which came through a friend of mine named Ian Lobus. He came up with the name. He didn't come up with the name, but he's like, buddy, he goes, I'm going to get a tattoo, abracadabra. And I go, what does that mean? And he goes, with these words I create. And here's the thing, like,
How do you get with these words I create from abracadabra?
because abracadabra is like magic,
Right.
right?
That's why
Like,
magicians say it,
is
I would assume.
right. It's because it's like, it's astonishing that it's happening. It's like magic. And the thing that I gave a TED talk last year on the power of musical affirmations. And it's really about the power of words. And our words are so powerful that there's just so many studies on when we say words in a certain order, that certain programming happens, not just for ourselves, but kind of this great mystical thing that is the world, that when we use words over and over again, like I am a musician, I am a creative musician, I am a world traveling musician, that as we say those, we literally integrate and start to become those things that we say to ourselves often. And so with these words I create, abracadabra is how the album is littered with these words that as you sing them with music, the only real possibility is that you'll feel some sort of inspiration or meaning or connection or excitement just based on the way the words are structured. And so when you structure words like that and you use them consistently enough, magic starts to happen. It's, the power of Louise Hay, Heal Your Body, the power of, Hal Elrod and Miracle Morning and the affirmations part of Savers. It's, the list goes on and on. We can name another 30 entrepreneurs who attribute affirmations.
Well, there's no question. I don't care who you are. And look, I'm no psychologist. I didn't go to school. But what we say to ourselves is the most important thing we say to anybody.
Dude, it's huge.
Right?
It's huge.
I mean, and it's interesting. I heard this study recently about happy marriages. And what the study said was that for a marriage to be happy in a long-term marriage, statistically, for every one negative thing that's said in the marriage, 3 positive things are said. And if that's the ratio, then that's a good marriage. Now, interestingly enough, when I heard that, I thought 3 to 1, I would guess in my marriage, it would be, I don't know, it might be 500 to 1. It would easily be 100 to 1. We just don't say shitty shit to each other. We decided we weren't doing that. And I don't have any shitty shit to say anyway. But it made me think of this. I do say a fair amount of shitty shit to myself.
Totally.
Yeah. And so ever since then, I've tried to surface in my own, thinking, wow, like look at what you did. Like if anybody said that to you, you would not be in a relationship with them.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
And so the interesting thing that you've done is, and it's fascinating to me that I don't know if anyone else has tried this before, but you've connected it to music. And on one hand, it'd be very easy for me to say, Brother James, look, this is kind of corny. And it is kind of corny, right? You know that, right?
Absolutely.
But, this is a very important but. Christmas carols are kind of corny, right? Yeah. There have been hymns for, I don't know, tens of thousands of years of one sort or another, right? And monks chant and so as human beings, there's something incredibly powerful about music. And then to your
Yeah.
point, the mantras or the lyrics in the music become the soundtrack to our life. And yet nobody's really tried to put together, like I was making a note, it's like, you're sort of like, and this is probably terrible, but you're sort of like if Jack Johnson and Zig Ziglar had a baby.
Yeah. Yeah. In
Right?
some ways. Yeah, absolutely.
What makes
It,
you want to do this?
it's what the world needs.
Say more about that.
Well, we might know that affirmations is an important thing, like that the conversations we have with ourselves is really important. First of all, not too many people know that and or are aware of the conversations going on inside of their head. So those conversations are happening all the time. And we know that our surroundings, proximity to certain types of tools or people, that those particular tools and people, if you're close to them, this is like, I think it was either Zig Ziglar or Jim Rohn who talked about the 5 people that you hang out with the most, you become like those people. Well, you could argue that the 5 CDs that you listen to the most, the words you hear, that you use that vocabulary. So the vocabulary of being able to have access to words that are positive words or inspirational words or meaningful words that are with good beats and good songs that a person can listen to and have access to them in a fun, playful way. I think it helps to reprogram. You can, if you look up the power of words that we say to ourselves, and then you look up the power of music, they both have very similar benefits. They can either disempower you or they can empower you. Now, words, much more importantly than music. Most of the time, music is going to lift you up. It's going to make you feel happy. It's going to make you feel a certain type of energy that is, unless it's kind of dark music, it's going to lift you up. But words is where if you say negative things to yourself or about others, then that just becomes more and more your vocabulary. Think about singing a song 4 times a day, and the words are about breaking up with your girlfriend with no real solutions in there, just a whole bunch of problems, a whole bunch of he said or she said or we did or whatever, and you sing that 4 times a day, all of a sudden your model of relationships is not necessarily all about what you saw in your mom and dad or what you see in your friends. A lot of it, it's subliminally, is what you're programming yourself to do or to feel, to think, to the lens you see the world through. So with this particular type of music, it's different. It's about feeling connected and feeling inspired and feeling meaningful through the power of music and words that lift us up.
And there's countless amounts of research that suggests that, for example, athletes, when you're training, if you're training listening to music, certain kinds of music, you're going to train harder. You know, like, I mean, I listen to hard rock when I train a lot of the time, right? And there's a reason for that, right? I listen to music when I'm training that I, might not generally listen to, right? Because it gets you going, right?
Yep. You're using it and just to that point, you're using it as a tool.
Well, and you think about, you think about the Rocky music, you think about the jazz music, and then you add lyrics to things, right? And so you think about any country's national anthem and what it means to them, what it means to Americans to hear the national anthem or God Bless America, or, so it, all that stuff, Christmas carols for me, incredibly powerful. They bring me my grandfather, it's just incredibly powerful. But it's so fascinating that nobody, you call your music affirmations, right?
What do I call them?
You call them affirmations, right?
I say that it's inspirational or meaningful music, and inside the music has certain structures of words that act as affirmations.
Yeah.
Like the end of that song is a great example. So, or the whole chorus. With these words I create, I have ownership of my life. The words I use is one of the very things that allows me to be free. With these words I create, abracadabra, laugh, are you ready to play? La 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 la, let's make today a great day with the words that we say. Just there, if you sing
Right.
that, you'll be in a conversation.
Right.
10 minutes later,
You're changing.
You're changing someone. One of John's partners, John Berghoff's partners, Jackie Stravos, is coming out with a book. They're launching a book called Conversations Worth Having. And inside of that book is what you call the flip, which is where you take a conversation that's going down a negative route, complaining, talking about problems, trying to identify what's wrong, what's broken, what's missing. And the conversations worth having is the flip is, how do you switch that and allow a more productive, insightful, meaningful conversation to emerge through the words that we choose to use. And so a song like that, let's say someone listens to that song, then an hour later they're in a meeting, they'll be more aware of where the conversation is going and have a better chance of flipping it just by singing that song a handful of times. And that activates more presence of what's happening right in front of them. So that's to go on, like that's like a tangent on. Yeah, it's all just a part of the programming is what's within the songs.
And so, and there's an expression you hear today that you didn't, at least I didn't used to hear, called putting yourself out there. And I think it's an interesting expression because I don't know exactly what it means, but my interpretation of it is that when you go into the world in a vulnerable way, in a big way, in an authentic way, you're putting yourself out there. I don't know if that's what it means, but that's what I hear when I hear that expression. Yeah. Do you hear it? How do you hear it?
I also think there's a risk involved.
Yes. Okay. Very good. Yeah. Say more about that.
Well, I think that putting yourself out there, there's several layers of risk, and we don't have the time to go into all the layers, but let's just say the main two. The main two would be the risk of doing something where you lose societal friends, people who don't like you as much anymore because you lose standing with certain groups of people because you go in a certain direction. So for example, before I became Brotha James, I was one of the top Coast sales reps. And when I moved away from that and became Brotha James and partnered that business, I did that knowing that I was risking going from being like a top type of performer who gets recognition and accolades and has a certain type of income, which is the second layer of risk. And I was going into a whole thing where I would have to create a whole new level of people who respected me when I was making that move. I was not very good. So I really put myself out there, but I knew not being very good. I knew not being very good. If I put myself out there when I was not very good, the one thing that I knew would happen is that as I got better, it would always, each level become easier and easier to perform because I would be getting better if I didn't wait till I was there yet. But I did the risk of having people give me feedback that wasn't always positive. So there was a risk involved in leading the group, the herd. And the second risk, which I think is the main one, is putting yourself out there, giving up a comfortable income to be able to go after your dreams. The risk there and putting yourself out there is that you're putting yourself out there to potentially not have whatever it is that the finances will give you. And you're putting yourself out there in order to fill your heart up and to feel a deep sense of fulfillment. One of my favorite quotes in the world is from Tony Robbins, which is, "Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure." And I'll say one more thing on risk. Both of those things are actually, even though they're real risks in the world and people think about them every day, and those risks, losing friends or losing people who think you're awesome or losing people who accept you, losing those people in order for you to be yourself, that's a risk. The finances, leaving something comfortable to go after something uncertain, that's a risk. But Tim Ferriss has a really interesting way to assess this risk. If you look at how long it would take you to get, let's say you lost everything and the worst possible case ever happened, putting yourself out. This is speaking to putting yourself out there.
Yep.
you give up the comfortable job. You realize that you're not going to have the friends from the office anymore or from the company. You go out after something else. Let's say everything goes to shit. And then make it really bad. How long would it take for you to get right back to where you are when you're deciding to put yourself out there? And we decide to put ourselves out there, and we are considering it because something about where we are currently isn't in alignment with our authentic selves, our true selves, our core, our values, whatever it might be. And so there's really no risk at all, because you can always get back to where you were when you were kind of like, I wish I was doing something else. I'm not really that happy here.
But there, even in the scenario that you describe, because I'm thinking about you and I'm trying to put myself in your position. And in my life, the closest to you, and I think you took a way bigger risk than I did, but was the start of Legends and Losers. But the risk that you took also came with the risk of ridicule, did it not? Like, there's no such thing as an inspirational musician before you. It'd be easy to go and make fun of this.
Oh, yeah.
Like a cynical person, right?
They absolutely are there.
Because you have to have a bit of a childlike, playful-like nature to enjoy what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Right? I let myself be a kid in your music. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
Dude, yeah, and buddy, we both know Jeff Hoffman, right? Like, we hear Jeff talk.
He's the biggest kid in the world, right?
He's like, hey, one of the big keys is to remain curious and to have childlike curiosity in regards to having what you might call a successful journey as a human. So, yes, well, you risk the ridicule.
Like, I take having fun and being silly seriously, if you know what I mean, right? So there's a bit of a silliness to. Is that unfair?
You mean a silliness to the music?
Yeah. There's a playfulness, like a childlike quality to
absolutely.
It. Like the way what I mean is, and I want to be as precise as possible, because I mean something precise. It's silly and playful in the way that when you're singing with a 2-year-old and you're playing, I don't know, patty cake, or like when you're doing an interactive thing that involves singing with a kid, something along those lines. There's a you have to access a very playfulness to sing and play a game with a kid. And for me, it may just be for me, I have to go, your music sort of puts me to that place, right? Or at least I have to meet it in that place.
Yep.
And so I guess all that is to say, I think that for you to be willing to, create this new category and be willing to write the lyrics that you write and the happy melodies and the fun little raps, there's people who could make fun of that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you try and please everyone, you end up pleasing nobody.
And instead, you get on stage in front of thousands of people at, sometimes young people events, but like you do this shit at business conferences and stuff a lot of the time. Yeah. I mean, a lot of your clients are corporations now, right?
Yeah, corporations, people who are putting on masterminds. Now, here's what's interesting is that
the masterminding people love you. Of course.
Well, I've also, to creating a category, you have to know who is your audience that is actually participating or would participate inside of that category. And that audience is a whole bunch of people
you have to be a motivated mofo who's up to something in life, who likes to, in the parlance of our times, mastermind and hang out and go to conferences where I focus on how do I live a better life and how do I build a better business and all the good shit that we love, right? You have to be into self-improvement. I'm reminded by that old joke, David Lee Roth. He said, the problem with self-improvement is how do you know when to stop?
Huh. Yeah. Well, then you can look at the way that,
I digress.
Like, when you're not growing, you're dying. You know, like when you're not improving or consistently looking at different areas of our lives that we can move forward in, we lose a little bit of that childlike playfulness when we get stagnant. So there's one point that I
And
want to
that's
make
what
on.
I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I flatten this because I love what you're doing, and
Yeah,
I love the risk that you took because you were willing to stand up and say, "Hey, I believe there's a new category of music that if you're willing to meet me is fun and it's going to make a difference for people and is a whole new thing to bring to your event, whatever that event is, right? It's a whole like you're not an experience because I've seen you many times, of course. You're not an experience that most people have had, right? And so
no,
I guess my point is for you to go from being a salesperson, making a lot of money and having a lot of accolades and all that, to completely reinvent yourself as a whole new category of music, and to go for it in the face of daunting odds. It's amazing.
dude, when I first started as Brotha James, I could barely play one song all the way through on guitar. I couldn't sing. I like, I, I
So you
was,
didn't even know you could do this. It's not like you were playing coffee houses on the weekend as a sales guy.
no,
Wow.
no. I was a percussion player and rapper in a band, and we toured all over the country, a band called Function. And we toured all over the country for about 3 years. And when the band came to an end, because we were seven-piece band, you know, all sorts of complications with a seven-piece band. At that time, I was still running my Cutco business, and I could see, I was like, wow, if I were to look at this as an entrepreneur, as a business person, the most inefficient way for me to do this is to have other people, because I'm pretty clear on my message. I know that I could be entertaining enough to captivate an audience because I'd been speaking at that point for 10 years. I was like, okay, and I know I'm a really hard worker, and I know I'm one thing I live by is fail fast, fail forward, fail often. And so I knew I had the key components to being successful at anything. I knew I had those tools that were my unique talents and strengths. And so all I did was I read the book, The One Thing, and I positioned certain things like
I love it.
guitar playing, singing, and I just did 15 to 30-minute increments of everything while I was positioning my financial kind of vehicle, the Cutco business, for a couple of years while I was building my singing, building my all these things. And then I had a coach who said, "Hey, are you going to start playing yet?" I'm like, "No, I got like another year until I'm ready." He goes, "You need to start playing right now." And I was like, "I don't know." He's like, "Stop being a little wuss, man. Stop being a little bitch and just go out there on the road and see what people think." And so I went out, and it was terrible, but people were like, they were into the energy and the inspiration and a little bit, and then into the looping. And I thought, if I'm this bad right now, and I know how hard I can work, I could make something of this in 5 to 10 years. And I really knew when I came back from that first little kind of like tour, I did not want to go back to doing, even though was making great money and had great clients and great day-to-day activities and tons of flexibility and freedom, I was willing to give up all that to go after my dreams. And I
And
knew it would suck at first.
why was this your dream?
2 reasons. Number one is because when I look back on what it is I knew I always wanted to do, I've always wanted to be an entertainer. I've always wanted to be either an entertainer or a Chicago Cubs baseball player. And
It's funny, those were mine growing up too. I wanted to be a rock star or a Montreal Expo.
dude, right? Like, you remember being a little kid. So that's number one. Number one is, when you look back before anyone told you what to do, what did you want to be? What was in your heart already when you were imaginative, creative, and thought anything was possible? So that was number one. And number two, which has only gotten stronger and stronger and stronger for me, is the power of contribution and doing something that makes a difference. And when I ask myself, why do I want to be a musician? I get because I love it. It's super fun. I would do it all the time for free. Okay, why is that important? Well, when I do what I love, and I would do it all the time, I'm in like my bliss, and I feel kind of connected and fulfilled. And it's this journey that I see taking me in this adventure of connecting to lots of different people and lots of different creativity and personalities and stuff. Okay, why is that important? Well, if I do that, then I feel like I'm going to inspire other people. If I'm following what I love to do and I'm excited about life, then naturally I'll inspire other people. I think we'd both agree we need more inspiration versus depression and anxiety. We need more inspiration in the world.
Hallelujah.
And then I thought, well, why is that important? Well, if I inspire people, that means that they'll think about their own lives in an inspired way and potentially go after their dreams and their goals. And maybe they'll be inspired. One of their goals is to have a great family. Maybe one of their goals is to be a musician. Maybe it's to be whatever, but they'll be inspired. And why is that important? Because when people are inspired, and here's where it really gets the 6 levels of why. We're on level 5. When people are inspired, they take greater action. And when people take greater action, they start to recognize that the energy component of their lives is really important. The people they hang around, the foods they put in their bodies, how they exercise, how they take care of themselves. Because if you have great goals and big dreams, but you don't have the energy, you'll never reach them. And so when I look 6, 7 levels down, the reason I do it is because I love it, and because I think that by making this type of music, it makes the world a more loving, compassionate, curious place that people will become more connected to themselves, to their relationships, to animals, and also to the planet. And we got to have that. If we got to have that, and we got to have people who are willing to put themselves out there in order to make that type of stuff happen. And for me, my talents and strengths line up to be this guy, and I don't have any control over it.
You are that guy. You made yourself that guy. I mean,
made myself that guy.
You made yourself that guy. It's incredible.
I trained every day to be that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Brother James, you're an incredible inspiration. I love it every time you and I are in an event together. Every time I get to experience you live. John will probably kill me, but he was here a while ago now with Lowry, and
oh yeah,
I'll just say that we had a few cocktails. Let me just put it to you that way. And all Berghoff wanted to do was put on one of the YouTube videos of you do an animal and dance around my kitchen.
Dude, so before we go, one of the reasons he loves that, I think this is a really important part of people searching for Brotha James and becoming part of this crowdfunding campaign, is that the music I didn't know what was going to happen when I started making this music. I didn't know if people would like it. I didn't know who would like it. I just knew that I needed to make it. And what's fascinating is that, and you really pointed it out really clearly, of in order to make this type of music, you have to have a certain kind of like childlike play, a childlike curiosity. Yeah. I'm such a kid with it that my number one fans are my adult fans' kids. Yeah.
Like there's always, if there's kids at the event, they're at the front of the stage dancing around and doing all that stuff with you, like as Absolutely. Though you were Grover or somebody from Sesame Street or something, right? They love it.
And right now, I would say out of the three like super fans, Brotha James, 2 of them are like 10 and 12. And they know the words to the songs, and it makes their parents so excited and proud because the parents love the music and the kids enjoy the music, which means you've got an ability to listen to upbeat, positive, inspirational, meaningful music on your car trips, on your way to school, on your way to the gym, on the way to the sports activities. And the music is not just the end of it. The music allows doorways for conversations to happen.
For sure.
Like the song Grateful. What am I grateful for? What an easy transition when that song ends for Johnny
to have a conversation.
Hey, Kaizen, what are you grateful for today? And then Kaizen in his cute little voice is like, I'm grateful for whatever he says, you know?
And what's
And
it,
all of
I
a
got to
sudden there's a
ask you,
seat.
what's it like to crowdfund a record?
It is really enjoyable. It's really
And
enjoyable
why is that?
because I've got the best fans in the world, and I'm constantly being supported by amazing people. And I'm always, you know, kind of blown away by how far they're willing to go, like yourself having me on this show in short notice. Like, they're willing to go outside of just what they want to support something that they feel can make a difference. And it's really been enjoyable. It'll launch January 14th in Steamboat Springs during a Fambundance mastermind event, a family mastermind event. And the goal is to fund it, have it funded, the whole album. I'm going to raise 50 grand is the low, 100,000 is the stretch. And I believe that 50,000 will get funded the very first day. And I'm having those conversations and getting on podcasts right now to make that happen, because the world needs more great music that connects kids and families and makes people think about what's important.
Well, I love it. Brotha James, Brotha.
T A.
And I know it's corny, but I had to wear my Brotha James hoodie today.
Yeah, and dude, wearing your Brotha James, I wear
my Brotha James shit on air.
Dude,
I do.
Well, as soon as I saw that, when we first got on the Zoom, kind of connected us, I was like, oh man.
Yeah, well,
so
I'm gonna wear my Brotha James shit today. I wear my Brotha James shit anyway, but and actually, as a marketing guy, I tell you, you got a great logo, and it's very representative of you and the music, and so it's kind of fun to wear the Brotha James. And you sent me this T-shirt hoodie that is very, very steezy.
Steezy.
Yeah, one of my favorite words. Started off, at best I can tell, as a snowboarding word.
Yeah, it sounds like a snowboarding word.
When you do something with style and ease, it's steezy.
Bro, that was so steezy.
That was so steezy, bro. Yeah, you probably got to throw a bro in there. And actually, I was thinking about this the other day. What's one of the most dangerous expressions in the English language? Hey, bro, hold my beer. Right? Because almost always what happens after hold my beer, bro, is not a good thing.
Yeah, dude. That's so funny.
Anyway,
no, it's not. It's not
digress. Great. Anything else before we wrap, Brotha James?
Why don't we end with a song?
Yeah, beautiful. That would be fantastic.
Hey, this is a brand new one. This one is it's about going after it. It's called My Life. I was born with this music on my mind. I love to kick these beats and write about my life. In time I build an audience with good vibes in your mind. I build this line to fill you with, so listen to the rhyme that might be drama in the mainstream and in the magazines. Media packed with the negativity is a man to summary. Keep us in quarantine. Be part of a machine that is all about the money. Let me intervene with a new theme. Another way to think about what it all means. We can't conceive and believe in our dreams. Get a burning desire and get your gasoline. Overthrow Pinocchio. Let him go and feel your heartbeat. One domino, you're never too old. It's time to sow your seeds. This is my life. I know I can be. I'm living like a free bird, taking care of Mother Earth and letting go of who is first. This is our life. I know we can be anything we wanna be. So focused like a laser beam and tune it to reality. Oh, 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 oh. Well, let me move with the movement. A key ingredient, consent to
what you love, and then you find yourself intelligent. See other people looking better, throwing them a positive vibration for them to send to who will need it next. Don't be so hard on the ones that we love, cause everybody's just trying to make life fun, to feel like we're breathing and we're living with these things that will give us the sense that our life has meaning. There ain't no need to live perfectly, well, there's no such thing if you a human being. The time has come to listen, yo, it's time to release. Unlock your lock and unleash your beast. Oh, Pinocchio, let him go, feel your heartbeat. One time I know why you're never too old. It's time to sow the seeds. Come on, this is our life. I know we can be living like a free bird, taking care of Mother Earth and letting go of who is first. This is our life, and I know we can be. Well, anything we wanna be, so focused like a laser beam and turn it to reality. Oh, 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 oh. I'm gonna get it well. I was born with this music on my mind. I live to get these beats and write about my life. It's time I build an audience for good vibes in your mind. Well, I built this line to fill you in, so listen to the rhyme. There might be drama in the mainstream and in the magazines, the media packed with the negativity is a mental summary. Keep us in quarantine. Be part of a machine that is all about the money. Well, let me intervene with a new thing. Another way to think about what it all means. We can't conceive and believe in our dreams. Get a burning desire and make that your gasoline. This is our life. I know we can be anything we wanna be. So focused like a laser beam and turn it to reality.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me. So,
yeah, I want to do that too.
That was awesome.
Thanks,
Brother
man.
James.
Thanks so much for having me on, Chris. I really appreciate it, and I'm really, really grateful for your influence. I'm always thinking about category. I'm always thinking about this this mission in a whole different way since I met you just last year. So, thanks so much for your influence in so many people's lives around building a life that's meaningful and awesome, and creating our own category. And thanks so much for having me on this podcast. Just in case you forget, I'm going to let people know where they can find me.
All right, let them know.
BrothaJames.com. It's BROTHA James.com. And that's where you can find the crowdfunding link and everything starting January 14th.
Brother James, you the man. Thank you for sharing your music. Thank you for sharing your absolutely legendary story to put yourself out there and create this whole new category of music. It's awesome.
Awesome, man. Thanks
Thank
so
you,
much,
brother.
Chris.
Whew, how fun was that? Brother James on Legends and Losers. And just as a reminder, if you want to find Brother James, you can find him at BROTHA James.com. And if you love this episode, why not share it with your closest 2,000 friends right now on social media? So post it somewhere on social media right now. And you can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/legends and all spelled out losers. All right. We would like to thank our guest today, Brother James, motivational and inspirational music for your next event at brothajames.com. Equity Directory, connecting startups to the talent and resources they need to build a legendary business. Check us out at equitydirectory.co. HarperCollins Instant Classic, Play Bigger, How Pirates, Dreamers, and Innovators Create and Dominate Markets. Pick up 1,000 copies for your company kickoff event wherever you get legendary books. Our good friends at onelifefullylived.org. We love you, Timmy. We love you. We met Brother James through Tim Road and all the good people at One Life Fully Lived. So thank you. Check them out at onelifefullylived.org, the nonprofit. helping you dream, plan, and live your best life. Myo Technology in San Jose, California. Mixed method recovery. Manny the Mechanic will get you tuned up and recovered at myotechnology.com. The Amazing Art of Charm podcast with Jordan Harbinger. Check it out. It's one of the top podcasts in the world for a reason. Kiva.org, loans that change lives. Microfinancing makes a big difference, and you can make that difference at kiva.org. Scotch from the people of Scotland, because it'll warm you right up. Trade-offs, why some things catch on and others don't. The bestseller from my friend and Play Bigger co-author, Kevin Maney. Trade-off, check it out. Fathom, marketing that accelerates revenue at fathomdelivers.com. We would like to remind you that today's information is provided to you solely for informational purposes, and that this oddcast is the sole property of the Legends and Losers Oddcast Network, and we would love you just a little extra if you shared the shit out of it right now. We must warn you that this oddcast is clearly produced in a studio that does contain nuts. We'd encourage you to teach music, support your local motivational musician. Remember that the Fonz was right. Listen to Chris Cornell. We hated United Airlines decades before it was cool. When you're done listening to the show, please be kind and rewind. Also, be a podcast legend. Introduce 2 people you love to 2 podcasts you love. Thanks, Candy Dandy. We love you. Love you, Mom and Dad. And hey, Colin, this oddcast really ties the room together, doesn't it? Our deepest apologies today go out to Greg Clark, Chief Executive Officer of Symantec. Sorry, Greg. We just ran out of time for you. That's it. Be legendary, my friends, and we'll look forward to seeing you again on another episode of Legends and Losers.